What's up, War Report family? It's your boy C Dub here, joined by my guy Dylan Lark of the College Loop, here to give you the pre-game show. Auburn is set to take on Oklahoma in just a few. We're gonna let some people get in here real quick. We got a 30-minute pre-game show. Kickoff is set at 2:45 Central Standard Time. My guy, how you doing, Dylan? I'm
I'm
gonna
doing
fix
all
that
right.
real quick so now we can see all of you. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm kind of worried about how this game's going to go. I don't think anybody is ready for whatever this game is going to be. I think I said 3-2 that this game could end up being, and I can't tell you who's going to kick the field goal.
So reminiscent of Auburn, Mississippi State, what was that, 17 years ago?
Yeah,
Back in
2000.
Starkville.
Yeah, 2008, 2006, 2007.
Somewhere in there. I remember that game. I hope there's more. I expect it to be a bit of a defensive struggle in today's game, but what's kind of the mood? You have the College Loop. You have people over there who support you and check you out. What's the mood amongst Auburn fans? Because I think the apathy is really beginning to set in. Auburn, many people were hoping for Auburn to come into this game undefeated, as I'm sure Oklahoma fans were expected for their team to come into this game, their first SEC road game, undefeated. But Oklahoma is now 21st ranked team in the country, 3-1. Auburn is 2-2. Things have not gone the way of many Auburn fans have expected, and apathy, for at least from my perspective, has started to set in. What about for you? What are you seeing, Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, when I came into this season, I definitely thought this game was going to be a 4-0 Auburn versus a 3-1 Oklahoma. I never thought they were going to beat Tennessee. But overall, I mean, yeah, it's hard to get excited to watch the offense. And I know the defense is going to be the big key to this game. It's going to be the huge talking point is what defense can score the most points. This game might end up being. I'm not ecstatic as I usually was for these games because watching the offense over the past few weeks, and it's a struggle to watch. I'm gonna wake up every morning. I'm going to watch the games, but then you wake up and you see Peyton Thorne's gonna be starting again. I think that's just kind of a weird move. Honestly, just kind of reverting back. I talked to one of my friends this week, and I said, "What's the definition of insanity?" And that's trying the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. That's what starting Peyton Thorne is for this game. But maybe it turns around. Maybe they actually try to run the ball this game. But I mean, with how Kentucky's looked against Ole Miss, unless Ole Miss might be fraudulent, don't know yet for them. They haven't played anybody until today. This is gonna be a fun, bad, weird game. Any adjective works for this game.
Well, let's talk about Peyton Thorne real quick. Obviously, he was named the starter on yesterday. It didn't surprise me, Dylan. One of the things that we talked about was the fact that for Hugh Freeze, he has a comfort level as most coaches do, and for Hugh Freeze, he was willing to. He had seen a lot of what he had seen out of Peyton Thorne, but that was his comfort zone. What he wasn't comfortable with is bringing in a young Hank Brown, right? Even though an argument can be made, the offense runs better with a Hank Brown, and the mistakes that he's going to make, you can rationalize those mistakes better. But I think with Hugh Freeze, if he's going to go out, he's going to go out within his comfort zone. And for him, Peyton Thorne appears to be the QB that makes him most comfortable, the quarterback who has the most experience. He's going to rely on him to run said offense. It didn't surprise me, even though I'm with you. I think that you begin to work towards the future because, again, this has not gone the way that you hoped it would. So you might as well begin to work towards the future and start developing someone who's going to be here after next year, right? If you're going to turn the ball over, at least you're doing it with someone who you're developing within your system. Again, this is someone you brought to Auburn from the high school ranks. Obviously, you believe this kid can play quarterback. Start building the future around him. But obviously, again, I just didn't think that Hugh Freeze was going to go that route. I just think that Hugh Freeze was going to go with what was comfortable, what he was familiar with, and that's Peyton Thorne. So that being said, what is the game plan? Because Hugh Freeze appears to have a lot of confidence in running the RPO with Peyton Thorne. He's not, doesn't appear to be making any changes offensively. What do you expect to see today?
Well, we've heard it all over the past couple of weeks. Is Hugh Freeze doesn't believe that they're making bad play calls. It's just bad execution of those plays being called.
Right.
So you go into this game and you are giving it back to your most veteran quarterback in hopes that hopefully you can have a game where you're not turning over the football. Auburn is now, I think now it's 6 games in a row where Auburn has had multiple turnovers. Just in general, since dating back to the Iron Bowl of last year, Auburn has not had a game where they've not turned over the ball 2 or more times. You have to change that in some way, shape, or form. I said with Ike on the Facts or Nah that the only way you can really fix that is taking a bye week to get out of that funk. I don't know what your game plan should be to give the ball to your most secure ball carriers, which would really be, I think, Jarquez Hunter. I mean, he's had a couple of instances where he's struggled with turning over the ball this year. I think he's had 2 fumbles now. Damari Alston's had a couple of fumbles that were in Auburn's like plus territory where Auburn should have scored on those drives. So ultimately, your game plan is just hold on to the football, control the clock, and hopefully you get out of here with a very close, ugly win. I don't think Auburn's going to blow out Oklahoma. I'm not going to bug anymore this season until Auburn gives me reasons to bug. If Auburn were to win this game, it'd be on the preface of they did not turn over the football more than what they usually do. Auburn's now had 2 games this year where they've had 5 or more.
Well, we're talking about the turnovers. As you can see, this is what we're talking about on the side. Turnover with a question mark here. Auburn is one of the nation's leader in handing the ball off, and at inopportune times. It's never really a good time to turn the ball over. But in some of these turnovers, Auburn was moving the football. Auburn was in scoring position. Auburn left points on the board. Before we jump into the turnover battle, because Auburn is facing off against a really good Oklahoma defense that is one of amongst the best in the nation. Question about Peyton Thorne is this. This is something that is beginning to frustrate me with some of the calls Hugh Freeze is making. And it's not that it's a bad call. And I understand that in year 2, Hugh Freeze is attempting to show proof of concept. He's trying to show his offense and what a Hugh Freeze offense would look like under his regime. But if you're turning the ball over and if you have guys who aren't executing your offense, even though you like what was called, at what point does proof of concept trump trying to win the game? Because there were things last week against Arkansas that was working. Auburn just didn't really go to it a lot. Jarquez was running the ball really well. He didn't put the ball on the ground. How come he only had 12 carries? He was averaging over 5 yards a carry. So one of the things that I was surprised in the second half against Arkansas was that Hugh Freeze, in bringing in a new quarterback, was still attempting to show proof of concept and run the RPO. Now, it worked because Auburn began to put points on the board. Thorne had a pretty good second half. But I'm thinking if you're making that change, why don't we begin to work with what works? What is working for us? And my concern moving forward is, how committed are you to trying to run the RPO versus why don't we start with what's working in the game and make adjustments off of that? Your thoughts on that, Dylan?
Well, I think anytime you're playing or coaching a football game, your immediate, like your first goal, your plan of the game is to win the football game. I don't think any coach has ever gone into a game not wanting to win that game. And kind of watching this offense, and it's been a fun offense to watch. I mean, Auburn's one of the most explosive offenses in the country, which is something we've not been able to talk about for 2-3 years now.
It's been overshadowed by the turnovers, though.
Yeah, and I've seen that 2017 might have been the last time Auburn had an explosive offense, and that you needed a quarterback who can get the ball down the field. And watching Auburn this year, I mean, you're trying to show off that you can be an explosive team, but not only is Auburn one of the most explosive teams in moving the ball down the field, they're also one of the most turnover-ridden, giving the ball back to the other teams. And it's just been a harsh thing to watch to the eyes. It's just basically you're eating. I can't even think of an analogy for it. Just punching yourself. You're running a mile, and as soon as you get close to the finish line, you're tripping yourself up and falling on your face. You're doing it to yourself. I think that ultimately you just go into this game, do what works. Hugh Freeze has said several times. I've quoted him on this every single time Auburn has refused to do it. He said at the beginning of the year, the best part of Auburn's offense is going to be the run game. And we've only seen the best offensive game of the year Auburn has had against an FBS opponent was New Mexico, where Damari had 10 carries and Jarquez had 20 carries.
Right.
Auburn ran the ball extremely well. New Mexico, bad defense. I'll leave it with a grain of salt. But if Auburn is not running the football, this offense is not going to win football games. Right. It's not going to happen.
So, with that in mind, do we see more of Peyton Thorne running the ball in this game? Because I know that was one of the things they wanted to get away from this year and having Peyton Thorne in the pocket. But do you start to utilize Peyton Thorne in more of the run offense? Because now defenses can't just key in on the running back, right? And I think that's one of the things that made Auburn's run game last year very effective. How do they utilize Peyton? Are they going to still continue to fit Peyton Thorne within the RPO style offense? Turnovers be damned. Or do they start to work in some of Peyton Thorne's actual strengths in this game?
I will hope with starting Peyton Thorne again, I hope that does imply you will be running the ball more. And doing that with Peyton Thorne is what you're going to have to do. I mean, outside of Walker White, Peyton Thorne is the most mobile quarterback in this entire room. And there have been games where Peyton Thorne has led Auburn in rushing just attempts in general, which should never be the case anyways. But if Auburn wants to move the ball correctly and score points, they're going to have to rely on Peyton Thorne's legs in this game. So I'm really hoping with the RPO, it's going to have some. I don't want quarterback keepers, but I would too much. But I'm not opposed to seeing Peyton Thorne utilize his legs a lot more.
Yes, I agree. Again, what you want to do is you want the linebackers, the second level defenders, you want them thinking, right? Now, instead of crashing down on a running back, just full confidence, I'm a step slower because I know that quarterback can pull it and beat me on the edge, right? You do that one or two times in a game, you have the linebackers a step slower than how they would normally execute on defense. That's really all you want with the Peyton Thorne. And I think that's enough to make a big difference in the run game to create opportunities for Jarquez. We talked about turnovers. You already mentioned that. Already got a few people in the comments saying Damari Austin. Stephen Finch says Damari Austin has to hold on to the rock. I agree 100% with that. Ernest Vaughn says Quez can't fumble today. Nobody can fumble today. No one should be fumbling the ball. That's Peyton. That's Jarquez. That's Damari. I don't want to see anyone putting the ball. No muff punts. None of that. I don't want to see the ball on the ground unless it's Oklahoma doing that with a freshman QB, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But turnover at this point, I'm not even asking for Auburn to win a turnover battle. I just don't want Auburn to lose the turnover battle badly. Is that fair? Is that a fair? Is that a fair thing to ask Dylan at this point? Like, don't turn the ball over 5 times.
I think if you go back to last week against Arkansas, Auburn had 3 turnovers instead of 5. You take away the Damari Alston fumble and you take away the Hank Brown interception, that first interception. I mean, Auburn scores on both those drives, and that's a 28-24 game. And that's with 3 turnovers on your from your quarterback's interceptions. That's all that is. It's a 28-24 win if Auburn only has 3 instead of 5.
Right.
So it's not a tough ask. I mean, Auburn's going to turn over the football. They've made it a habit. It's now like a cursed thing. When Auburn's playing a football game, they're going to give the ball to the other team, and it's just a matter of how many times are they going to do that. Auburn can win a game by losing a turnover battle, especially if the offenses on both sides are just not good. But it's all about not giving it to them on drives you should be scoring on. And I mean, Auburn should score on every drive. That's what the fandom is. I mean, and yeah, I want Auburn to score on every single drive that they possibly can, but just don't overdo it. I think on Facts and All we did will Auburn have 1 or less turnovers? I said not almost immediately. If Auburn has 2 or 3 and they can force 3 on Oklahoma, that gives Auburn the best chance to win. Is if they are going back and forth turnover after turnover.
So what's your number? What's the number of turnovers you think you would see from this Auburn offense today?
I'm thinking I want to hope they don't pass the ball as much, but I don't trust some of our running backs to carry too much of a load to not turn over the football. I'm going to say Auburn's going to have at least 3.
Oof.
It's too much of a it's too much of a habit now. They're going to have to put sticky tack on their gloves from now on.
I was going to go with 2. I was going to go with 2 in this game. I don't know if that wins a turnover battle or not, or loses. I don't know what Oklahoma does. They are starting a freshman QB today. So again,
there
first
could be
road game.
9 in this game. There could be 9 in this game.
Ugly if that happens. Ugly if that happens. But Auburn's defense actually showed some promise last week against Arkansas, a team that likes to run the football. Oklahoma has not been a juggernaut in terms of rush offense this year, surprisingly. They do have a mobile QB that is starting for them, so who knows what that opens up for them. What do you expect to see from Auburn's defense today?
I expect to see an emphasis on stopping the quarterback run. Michael Hawkins was very good at creating plays for himself, and that's why Oklahoma was able to move the ball in the second half of that game. I think you're looking at a lot of emphasis on down the field passing too. I don't know how safe that Oklahoma will play. They might actually run the ball a lot more now because they're how many wide receivers are they out? 7, 8. The entire roster.
I mean, again, I'm iffy on Deion Burks. I think he will be out there playing.
I think he's already been listed as out.
They already got him listed as out.
Yeah, they updated it, and now they have their entire starting 5 are all out.
Wow.
So they might be running the ball a lot. This game might be over quick, but also feel like it's 4 or 5 hours long.
Auburn's allowing 118 yards per game rushing on the ground, good for 45th in the nation. It'll be interesting to see how. I think Auburn had a good test last week against Arkansas. The week before, New Mexico had a mobile QB, and Auburn held him in check. Now, they were concerned about him and nobody else because some of the running backs did have a good game on the ground, even though they didn't get a lot of carries. But we've seen Auburn look pretty good in terms of run defense. To me, the key to this game is there's 2 things here when we talk about keys to this game, Dylan. I'm going to get your thoughts on this. Auburn's run defense needs to win first and second down. With a freshman QB, you want to put that QB in second and third and long situations, right? You don't even want Oklahoma to be tempted to feel as though they can go for it on 4th down because you're way behind the chains in terms of down and distance. Time of possession needs to – this is one of the games where you cannot lose time of possession. You're already not optimistic about the turnover battle. You can't allow Oklahoma that many opportunities to have the ball and potentially shorten the game. Auburn is a quick strike offense, so already that's one strike against it in terms of winning the turnover battle. But you have to get Oklahoma in down long, second and long, third and long so that you can force them to get the ball back to you so that you can run your offense. But your thoughts on time of possession and what Auburn's defense have to do to get off the field in a reasonable time?
By third down, Michael Hawkins should be pulling dirt and grass out of his face mask. Auburn's going to have to get to the quarterback in this game. It's going to have to be a big thing because Auburn has had plenty of times this year that I can count already where they have given first downs to the offense, not because they made a big play or anything, because of penalties. Auburn's going to have to play a safe game defensively where they don't give those first downs. And you have to get to the quarterback every single time. You cannot extend drives because you pushed a guy out of bounds. I know Austin Keys didn't mean to do it. No one ever means to do it, but you can't let it happen. And that's what you're going to have to do in this game is flat out get to the quarterback. This needs to be Auburn's best pass rushing game of the year because you don't know what to expect from the offense. And you don't know when you're going to get a break. So to keep your breath, you got to force them 3 and outs, and you got to give the ball back to the offense. You just don't extend drives, keep your breath, and you don't rely on the backup stuff to come in and mess something up. You don't want that to happen. And I know Auburn's defense is pretty deep in some of the categories of the front seven, but that secondary can't get thin. So you can't let drives get extended, lock them out, 3 and outs, force turnovers. That should be what the defense wants to do.
I expect a defensive struggle in this game. Auburn against Power 4 competition is averaging almost around somewhere in 14 points a game. I don't expect a lot of scoring today unless Auburn just comes out and does something completely just out of left field, out of pocket. What are your thoughts? You gave your score on the College Loop. I already know what your score is, but for those who haven't checked it out, what is your prediction for this game, Dylan?
I have 17-14 Oklahoma. It's my first predicted loss of the year because this is the first game of the year where I actively predicted a loss at the beginning of the year. And I think that, I'm going to be rooting for Auburn. I'm going to be excited if they're up by 1 at the half or whatever it's going to be. But I'm just not confident Auburn can get it done right now. Halftime, hopefully, a different story, but I don't know what to expect from this team.
My orange and blue heart says Auburn. My head, though, says Oklahoma in this game. I have a similar score. I got 20-14 Oklahoma in this game. It's almost until I see that this Auburn offense can run the ball and can actually move the ball, protect the football. If you aren't able to do it against lesser stellar defenses, because Cal plays decent defense, but Cal is not elite defensively. Arkansas is not elite defensively. We only managed to score 14 points against those two teams. Against a better, more capable Oklahoma defense, Auburn's going to have to show and prove that they can do it. Let's just see. Let's just see what happens. But I got Oklahoma 20, Auburn 14. Let's see some of you guys. Clint Murphy is believing 24-13 Auburn. Susan actually has flipped your score, Dylan, and has 17-14 Auburn. Tatiana thinks Oklahoma is just going to go crazy on Auburn today. She has lost all hope. Ephesians 2:8-9 says AU by 50. I like it. I like it. I like it. That's what my heart is saying too, Ephesians. So yeah, that's Marshall Jones has 24-14 Oklahoma. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. Definitely want to get in to see some of you. Some of your. Oh, wow! Someone changed their name to Fire Freeze. Says Broken Ugly loses. So apparently they didn't convert. Ole Miss did not convert. So Kentucky's going to pull out a big win on the road, and this is a Kentucky team that's just their defense is amazing this year. So that's another team that kind of concerns me when Auburn goes on the road to play them.
I mean, Kentucky might have just beaten Ole Miss.
It looks like they're about to.
I think Ole Miss missed a kick to tie the game.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
that's
did.
funny.
So
Oh, that's
I think
funny.
Kentucky's going to win. I know, right?
That's my hate pick.
It couldn't have happened to a better coach in Lane. Good for you, Lane. I'm happy you lost that one.
Yeah, good for Stoops.
Good for Stoops. Good for Stoops. Let me get to some of you guys' comments. FJ Tab says, I feel like this will be Oklahoma's coming out party, unfortunately. And this is something that I have noticed with Auburn in the past when they play QBs that no one has really seen. Why do they look amazing against Auburn? So you hope that Auburn can end that run. Hopefully that's not the case, but that has happened way too much in the past, and so that is a concern that a lot of Auburn fans has. Ant Robinson says Lane just laned it up, told Ike. So I guess they did predictions. I was out of time. I was out of town this week, so I wasn't able to be on the show. So I have to go back and see what those guys predicted.
It's Gainesville's happy, or Gainesville might be a little iffy on that. Yeah, they don't really partake too much in losing to Kentucky.
They may be happy. They may be happy because at the end of the day, you don't have to worry. And again, that's just one loss for Lane.
Yeah,
like they could probably still
maybe
get into the playoff.
maybe
But
if
you're
Kiffin
hoping that he misses the playoffs and you can still go get him.
maybe if Kiffin spent more time coaching his team instead of talking about Auburn, maybe he wouldn't be losing to Kentucky. Just a thought.
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows?
I'll throw all kinds of shade that way.
So that was their homecoming. Oh, is that true, Susan? That's even better. That's even better if Ole Miss lost their homecoming. That's incredible there.
Let's hope Georgia can lose their homecoming next week.
I know.
Maybe we'll get that lucky.
Goodness. A lot of y'all already saying Kentucky's going to beat Auburn. Again, I'm concerned about everything from here on out for Auburn.
Man, I'm worried about Vanderbilt.
Philip Coleman says Stoops just secured him an extension until 2030.
He would have it if he asked for it, even if he didn't beat Ole Miss. They don't care enough about football to not fire him or to fire him.
If Kentucky figures that offense out, I think that's going to turn that whole program. Like that's been what's holding them back has been their offense. Sounds like another school that we know of that we love and support. But if Kentucky is able to figure that offense and turn it around, I mean, yeah. But
a fourth down conversion away from beating Georgia.
Greg Wheatley says, I better not hear Kiffin say a word about the players. So I have to go back and watch that game. I was watching some of them before we went live.
I was watching it and I was trying. I have it on like the side, so I'm like watching like at an angle. So I had to pull up my phone because I was like, I got mixed reviews all across the comment section. I was trying to follow along with that, and they were always like, "Oh well, Ole Miss just won it. Oh, Kentucky just won it." And I was like, "I don't know who just did it," so I had to go check it for myself. But man,
all right,
that made today so much better. Now I just need a tie to happen in Tuscaloosa. bring the ties back for that game. Neither team needs to win that.
Oh goodness. Well, listen, we're about to wrap up. Tatiana says, I hope Hank plays today. Let me ask you this. Do we see more than one QB in this game? Did y'all do effects and on that?
Yeah, I said we might see 4 quarterbacks in this game across both teams.
Okay.
There might be an over under 2.5. Might be the total quarterbacks playing in this game.
So you feel that we could potentially see it could be a Hank Brown sighting in today's game.
We could start off by Michael Hawkins taking on Peyton Thorne, and we could end this game by Jackson Arnold taking on Hank Brown. We might even get to see Oklahoma's third string quarterback versus Holden Garner and all this. We might get a different quarterback a quarter.
They'll let you know that it's going to be an absolute mess if that were to happen.
Is it raining in Auburn? If it was, that'd make it even better.
I'm not.
monsoon. Make it
Uh,
it needs to be ugly as possible. Embrace the ugliness.
I'm not sure. I am not sure, but we will definitely see. We're about to find out very shortly. We're gonna wrap up and get out of here, y'all. We appreciate you supporting and watching the pregame and hanging out with us, enjoying an Ole Miss loss and preparing, hopefully, for an Auburn win. I predicted Oklahoma, but we will see how that unfolds. My heart is still orange and blue, so we'll see what happens. Guys, always share this video, smash the like button before you get out of here, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. We appreciate you guys. We will be here at the half to talk about the first half, run down some stats, give our thoughts, hear from you, and we'll keep the live open throughout the second half where the post game will pick up from there. Enjoy the first half. War Eagle.
War Eagle.